So, you want to play the Vengeance campaign and use a damage build that actually works? Well, in this one, I'm going to show you just that, a range of builds for every single class with gameplay from the Vengeance campaign going on right now. Hey, it's Dan, and welcome to Unified Gaming. So, before we jump into the builds, I just want to touch upon very quickly what the Vengeance campaign is. If you know this already, you are welcome to skip a minute ahead, but the quick TLDR is that every character has a flat set of stats, your Mundus doesn't work, your attributes can't be changed, and all of your sets are disabled. Additionally to this, you'll notice that your weights do not make any difference, neither do the traits, and you get given some items such as the white ones here to do more damage if you wish. The only things that actually matter for your build are the skills you pick, and you have access to all of your class skills, some weapon skills, and some support and alliance down here. It is worth noting that with these skills, these are modified from the base game and there are no morphs, so you are expecting a morph or like a skill to perform as you would expect. That will not happen. A good example of this is that the Blast Bones does not work like you would expect. It gives you a buff rather than doing damage. That does mean that the Necromancer doesn't have a burst skill, so I will touch upon how you can fix that, where I was 1vxing with this class, so it is completely viable. The last thing to kind of note is that you do get given a range of siege and also potions for free, and they are completely free to use, so do use them. They are very, very helpful. Additionally, because of these free weapons, you'll notice all of the damage values are exactly the same between range and melee weapons, so in most cases you are better running a staff or a bow because you get the same amount of damage. The only time you want to use a weapon is if you use the weapon skill line, and at that point you do actually have to run that weapon. The only exception to this is that the greatsword has slightly more damage, like it is very, very slightly more, so it won't make or break a build, and I wouldn't rush to get this for that reason. I would personally suggest the benefit of the range is much more viable, so do consider that. If you're unsure, lightning or inferno on your main bar, restoration on your back bar, or a bow, and that's good to go. As for the builds themselves, I'm going to go through every single build, and I'll break down kind of just some gameplay at the start, the kind of strengths of the class, the skills I'm using, and then move on quite quickly. That said, if you get any questions with the builds, then let me know in the comments below, and if you like these videos and these guides, then likes and subscribing is really, really appreciated. I also want to say a massive thank you to the YouTube and Patreon members who do support the channel. They get exclusive builds and guides, access to the videos early, and much, much more. If you want to support myself, there's details down below. With that out of the way, we're going to jump straight into the builds, so let's go. So the Nightblade in the Vengeance campaign is your assassin. It is one of the stronger specs in my opinion for this mode because it's got really good mobility, it's got invisibility, it's got great burst potential, one of the best in the game, and it's also very evasive. With all the weapon skills too, you have more damage than before, so it's just been buffed. It's a really, really good build to play, and if you want to kind of 1vx or fight outnumbered, this is the build for you. Just note that it has a higher skill ceiling because you do need to be mindful of your healing, your stamina pool, especially if you're moving around a lot. That said, it has one of the best sustain skills to again make it even easier to play, so this is like the one I'd go to if you're unsure what to pick. For the skills themselves, as you see in the gameplay, we are focusing on using a bow, and I went back and forth quite a lot with this on do I go melee, do I go range, what do we do? I looked very, very closely at the melee skill to failed strike is 10,500, the bow is 10,800, it's more damage. It's also 35 meters range. Yes, it's a channel, yes you can be interrupted, but many don't have them. Most people don't have the interrupt. So you can just use this at range, it gives you really good range combos with the Grim Focus that you can see over here. So I find that this is more usable in all honesty. Yes, you could use failed strike. Yes, you could go down Assassin's Blade. I quite like the range version, and I was bursting people really well as you saw in the gameplay. I then used Poison Arrow. This is just extra sustained damage with Cripple. I found that actually having the ability to slow the target down and also have more dot damage on them gave us more pressure, which means when we do a burst combo we hit very hard. And we have Shadow Cloak for a heal and also a getaway. I use Grim Focus because it's stupidly OP, so run this, it hits very, very hard. And I use Soul Shred as the ult. The reason we don't use Deathstroke is because Deathstroke's like an execute, it's like Killer's Blade. It doesn't stun them. Soul Shred stuns them and it hits really hard, allowing you to Soul Shred into a Grim Focus, so that's 18 plus 18, 36, almost 37,000 damage. And it gives you time to then do like a snipe or something else if you want, or poison injection. I normally do poison injection. And you know, like 40,000 damage. So it's very, very nasty. And of course, you can put on the melee version if you want with this. For the bat bar, we have Vigor, good heal over time with Healthy Offering for burst heal. I then use Mark Target. I use this simply because it's cheaper than the Destruction Star version. And we have Path of Darkness as a movement skill. We have Siphoning Strikes, which is ridiculously good. This is fantastic. You basically spam this, you have like infinite sustain. You put this on with a Vigor, and you can just spam this like forever. It's stupidly good. We then have Panacea, which is a burst ult. So if we're like, oh no, we're going to die, we cast this, it's us and allies, it's dirt cheap, as is the Soul Shred. This is what I found was really good because it gave us the range to hit really hard, and also the burst if we got close to them. If you want to make this into a melee spec, just change the snipe into Failed Strike. Change the poison injections, the poison arrow to Killer's Blade. So Assassin's Blade, and everything else is pretty much the same. But that's what I'd use on the Nightblade and I had the most success with. It was really fun playing this, and I would definitely go to this if you're unsure what to pick. So for the Necromancer in the Vengeance campaign, you are really focused on, again, a kind of dot style build, and that's simply because their class skill lines don't have any burst skills. So what you'll see in the gameplay behind me is that I'm using a dot type spec, and I have them on VX, in which you'll see in the footage, so it shows you it does work. We do have a burst skill thanks to the ultimate we use, and I also want to just stress that having played all of the classes, the Necro is incredibly tanky with so many heal stacks that you can put on you. So from a one solo player, this is amazing. As for the kind of burst potential, it's a bit hard to use and get around, but it's fun, and this is probably more of a group class in my opinion. For the skills themselves, what I'm actually using is Flame Skull. It's a really good range spammable, one of the best ones. Most range spams are about 9k, so this is higher than normal, which is great. I then use Flame Touch for that damage over time. This is very good, and what's really nice is that because we don't have that consistent damage, this will help make up for the burst, because this can tick whilst we also get the flame hit at the same time. So that's really why we use this Flame Touch. I then have Sacrificial Bones as a extra damage boost. We do need this. This makes the dot hit even harder, so that's great. We then have Skeletal Mage as another dot. This is really good. So again, combining Mage with the Flame Touch, you do get some really nice damage. And you can see with the Blast Bones added, we get this 18k dot with a 15k dot. So it's like, what's it, 30,000, 33,000 almost. So there's a lot of dot damage over essentially 4 to 6 seconds with that spammable going in. I then use Weakness to Elements because we do need extra penetration. People are quite tanky, they have lots of health, and this means our dots hit even harder, so this is really nice. You'll then see I'm using Fiery Storm, so this is an Inferno staff. This is really, really cool. So I'm going to put on my buff, and you can see this is a nice 23,000. You have to kind of like preemptively cast this, so you get the dots on the people, as you saw in the gameplay, Fiery Storm, then straight into the Flame Skull. What will end up happening is this will hit them very hard with these dots ticking very nicely, doing lots and lots of damage, and the Flame Skull. And you saw us killing people quite quickly, it'll get them really low. Defensively, you have a few choices. I was looking around with Bitter Harvest, and I found it was kind of like hit and miss. There's very few corpses, so I wouldn't suggest running this, but it is an option. Me personally, I'd probably suggest that you run something like Bone Armor for more mitigation. It's really, really nice. You could run the Scythe for AoE healing. It does a bit of damage, so this is quite decent. Or you put on like Gravegrass for some Immobilize. For simplicity though, you're honestly better just using the Bone Armor for now, but I did want to try that and wanted to mention that to you. I also looked at Restoring Tether, and it had the same issue, so again, I'll probably skip this too. For our burst heal, we have Render Flesh. This is fantastic, it's one of the bigger burst heals in the game, so definitely use this. We then have Vigor as another heal over time. We have Spirit Mender as another heal over time, and we have Expunge. This is here for free sustain. So we have 2 really big heal over times, plus a burst heal. What this means is that we're really, really tanky, as you saw in the footage. For the ultimate, I had the Goliath and the Bat Bar, but you can use whatever you like. Reanimate's pretty decent, but it's very expensive. I would personally recommend using the Restoration Panacea. This is quite nice, it's a good AoE heal, it's cheap, which is fantastic, so that's where I'd go with that. Or you could look at something like Shield Wall for just getting like damage mitigation, which is blocking. But there really isn't like much decent ults you can put on the Bat Bar. But that is the Necromancer. It's kind of a melee kind of rangy class where you're kind of putting dots and just letting people melt. It's fun, it's different, I think you might like it. So for the Dragonknight, what you're going to be focusing on primarily is that damage over time, stun and then playstyle, where you're really trying just to get those dots eaten away and you're doing lots of spam to kill them. You drain the stamina, the dots eat away, you use a leap to get the kill. What you'll see in the gameplay behind me is that I'm doing this kind of combo. It is incredibly laggy, unfortunately, so this do sort of take that with a pinch of salt, but this is what I would use personally if it wasn't lagging, because it gave me the best success, and this built upon the findings from the Necro, which you saw earlier in this video. For the skills themselves, we are using Lava Whip. This is your spammable, with Searing Strike has a good damage over time, and Flame Touch. Flame Touch is better than some of the other dots simply because it hits harder per second, it lasts ages, and if you compare it to like Fiery Breath, yes it has a dot, but it has an initial hit, and we want those damage over time to be stuck on them, so we can then spam Whip and get those dot ticks at the same time, creating more damage within that 1 second. So that's why we've gone with these two dots, because they have really high dot damage, rather than using the Fiery Breath. We then have Petrify as a stun. This is fantastic. You can change this for Fiery Grip if you want, so if you want to pour them to you, that is an option. Alternatively, if you're playing in group play, this is really, really good, so do consider that there. I then put on Weakness to Element. Yes, it's expensive, but it lasts 30 seconds, and that bonus damage is quite noticeable, so I would consider getting this too. For the ultimate, we're using Dragon Leap, as this allows us to get the dots going. We go for the stun into the leap, and that gets them really low, allowing the whip to get the kill. For the back bar, we are using Spiked Armor, Dragon's Blood, and Vigor. The armor is just your armor buff, the Dragon's Blood is your burst heal, and Vigor is your heal over time. I then use Inferno for more bonus damage. I don't always cast, but it can help, and we have Protective Scale for some damage reduction from range attacks. We then pair this with Magma Armor. As you'll see in this build, I'm trying to use primarily the class skills, but you could add in, for example, the two-hander Executioner, which is really worth using the Reverse Slash, so this can help if you lack killing power. Beyond that, the dot specs from the dual wield isn't too great beyond the ultimate, and I would personally prefer just to have the big hit with Leap. So that's what I do on DK. I hope you find that useful. Any questions, let me know down below. So for the Arcanist, what you are wanting to do is really focus on this kind of melee range hybrid class. It's kind of like a medium range class. The class lines themselves are actually really, really good, so I'll definitely focus on those. As for kind of what the kit has, it gives you a good burst hit, it gives you a good spammable, it gives you a mobilize, a stun, a teleport. It's one of the stronger 1vx classes in my opinion, so this is fantastic. You'll see in the gameplay that I was hitting people really hard and bursting them. The beam's a great group skill, it's got good healing, it's a really, really good class. I'd also add that if Zos were to learn anything from what they've done here, is that they take some of these kind of takeaways and apply it to the base game. The big change with the Arcanist beam means it's way better in PvP than live, because it now hits significantly harder. So with the skills, I'm going to go through what they are and how the build works, and really just break it down for you. So, firstly, we are focusing on using all of the Arcanist skills. They're kind of like staple. So we are focusing on using Rune Blades. Rune Blades is our spammable and it generates Crux. The reason we use the Crux is because we do use Fate Carver. Now, I appreciate people have a bad experience with Fate Carver, as do I, but they've changed how this works quite drastically, and I really hope they apply this to PvP generally. It's much better. The kind of TLDR is that it hits every 1 second. Now, when you add in this Crux 3 times, it's like an extra 9k, so it's basically 18,000 damage, which is the same as Grim Focus. What's nice is that this is up front. The first tick does the 18,000, which means as soon as you cast it, you get that big hit of damage like Grim Focus, or like Haunting Curse, or Deep Fissure. And then if you can keep it on them for the extra second, you then get another big hit, like shooting 2 spec bows in a row, which you can now do on live. So what this means is that this becomes a really good burst skill, because you've got that big hit on that first cast. If you'd missed the second one, it doesn't matter, it's like using spec bow, and you can just cancel it and go into your spammable weaving again. So this is a fantastic skill, and I really recommend using this. And in group play, it's even better because you get massive hits for everyone. So, yeah. We then have Abyssal Impact. This basically is our AoE like hit, but it immobilizes them. This is mainly here because we drain people's stamina using this one and Eldritch Horror. The Eldritch Horror is a stun. This is an immobilize. You can basically rotate between the two, so you really drain their stamina, making it hard for them to get out of the way of the beam. Beam hits very hard, so it's a really good combo here. We then have Apocryphal Gates. This is our teleport. It's basically streak without stun. So it's very, very, very good. It's good for like gap closing, good for getting away. It's just a really good skill. I then use the Vengeance Firestorm, and this is a bit unusual, and I appreciate people won't use this, like why? But basically it hits really hard. It's a burst ult, it's only 85 ult, so it's dirt cheap. It has a 2-second wind up, which sounds really bad, but what this allows you to do is essentially fire this on the ground, and then the Eldritch Horror. Because this is a 1-second delay, by the time you've done this into the Horror, this starts to animate, they then get stunned in the area, and you can hit them with a beam. So at this point, you get this like 21k here, this 18 here, it's like 40,000 damage almost. It's really, really nasty. And then if you can keep this on them again, you're just gonna get another like 18, 20k constant hits every second after. So it's a really good ult to use, and you can throw it in big groups, you can throw it in 1v1s, it's fantastic. For the defense ones, we use Fate Woven Armor. This is just a defense buff. It does give minor breach if they are near you, but you don't really get that often, so I wouldn't build for that. We have Rune Mend, which is a big heal. It's honestly really good. I personally think they should do this in PvP, because in the normal mode, this is way better than the 3 hits, and just having that big heal means it's easy to balance, so I would go down this route, but definitely use this skill. We have Vigor for a heal over time. You've seen it on all of the builds so far. It's probably one of the better skills to use, so run this. And we have Imperfect Ring. The dots are very good in PvP right now, so I definitely run these. They're really, really useful. And we have Arcanist Domain for more sustain, which is very helpful, plus that minor berserk. So you see when we cast this, all of our skills hit harder. So this is now 22k, this is like 9k plus the 9 down here. So it's like, there's the 18,000 as I was showing. So this is really nice, and that sustain does help. I then have Pansy as my ultimate. It's like an Olno button. I did play around with the glyph, it's too expensive, and I did play around with the shield, too expensive. This is dirt cheap. This is dirt cheap. You can spam these quite freely, so you've got a lot of options there. But in my opinion, I think Arcanist is one of the stronger specs this time round, so I think you'll have a lot of fun using it, as you'll see in the gameplay behind. So the Templar in the Vengeance campaign, in all honesty, is one of the more versatile specs. You have access to both melee builds, in my opinion, that are pretty decent, and also range builds. It plays primarily as a group build, as you can imagine, because of the heals and so on, but you'll see in the gameplay behind me that it is pretty good in kind of just going in, getting those kills, whether you're melee or range. I personally prefer the range version, because I think given how hard it is to get away from fights, having the ability to be at range is probably more useful, but you can play around with it as you see fit. That said, I will go through both versions, and I have changed the base class quite heavily from the default loadout, because I think it's a little bit clunky, so I would recommend the following. For the Templar, if you go for the melee build, you want to use Puncturing Strikes. This is really good, it's dirt cheap, it hits hard, it's 12,000, so it's a really high magic skill. You have Backlash, which is your burst hit, so this is really good, it's 6 seconds. You then have Focus Charge. This lets you basically gap close to somebody. It doesn't stun them, which is a bit frustrating, but it is quite good to help close in, so you do need that if you use jabs. We have Sunfire as a great dot, and we have Radiant Destruction. This is our execute. If they're low health, you cast this, you're going to get a kill. We then use Radial Sweep as our big, AoE hit in front of us. It's very decent. For the back bar, we have Rune Focus for more armor, which is dirt cheap. We have Rush Ceremony, which is a big burst heal, with Vigor. We have Restore an Aura for more sustain, so just cast this every now and again. And we have Cleansing Ritual, which is for you and allies. You can change this in all honesty, but I kind of like the idea of helping teammates a little bit, but that's up to you. We then have Rite of Passage, which was quite a decent heal over time for just your team. It is worth noting that this isn't a I don't die button, you can die with this, so just be careful. For the range version, what I personally found was working really cool was, rather than using the Dark Flare, and I know lots of people go Solar Flare, it's 14,000, this has the same kind of damage DPS as the Destruction Staff. So when you look at the Destruction Staff full shock, it's 9,400, and that works out the same. So what I found using this was that doing a heavy attack with an Inferno Staff meant that you could do stuff. It is worth noting if you use a Lightning Staff, it's not as easy. So for that reason, when I was running it, I was just running the Inferno. And then what you can then do is cast a heavy attack into full shock. That will then give you a nice bit of burst, which is really decent, and it's easy to land, and you can't do this with the Dark Flare, so I found this was easier. And when people tried to kill me, I was killing them with this. I then had Backlash still. I then recommend that you use the Piercing Javelin for the stun. It's really good. It is cheaper to use than the Eclipse, so I personally found that was better because sustain is always hard in this campaign. I then kept the dot and the rest of the skills. The ultimate I kept the same, but having played all of the classes, for the range spec I'd probably go with the Destruction Staff. This hits very hard the Elemental Storm and it's dirt cheap. So what this means is you can essentially land this with the Backlash. You got 14,000 plus the 21 there, so you're looking at 35,000 instant damage for one person. With the stun, with the heavy attack force bit, and then into the beam and the dot, it's almost a one-hit kill. It's very, very nice. For the Bat Bar, that stayed exactly the same. But the Templar essentially was more versatile as a class. It just lacked that movement ability, which lots of classes do lack, sadly. So for that reason, I would suggest the range spec, because you're not going to get caught out that much compared to, say, being melee, where you will die quite quickly. Now, the Warden class has quite a lot of versatility. It's one of those kind of jack of all trades classes normally, and it's even in this campaign too. What you will see in the gameplay behind is that I played primarily as a Stamden, because the last time we had this campaign I did use a Magden, and both work. So I'm going to show you both specs in like the build part, but the gameplay is from the Stamden. The Warden itself focuses on using kind of that big burst hit with Deep Fissure, with a spammable landing together, and stacking heal over time to stay alive. It's got a very good defensive kit to get you out of trouble, and it does have a really good movement skill. What this all means is you can get around the battlefield quickly, you can do damage, it's really good. With the added weapon skills, you have more choices now, making Stamdens way more possible than before, so that's a nice change. All in all, I think if you lean into the weapon skills, you get slightly more effectiveness, as I'll show you now. For the build itself, we are focused on using Uppercut. This hits very hard. It doesn't have the off-balance stun like the live version does, so just bear in mind that you won't have a stun with this skill. We then have Scorch, which is our burst skill. You can push this and then do a couple uppercuts into a reverse slice. We have the reverse slice as the execute. It hits very hard when they're low health, so this is fantastic. And I noticed a big improvement when I went from the two-handed gap close critical charge to reverse slash. This was just way better, and I got many more kills much easier. I then have Momentum. This is here for more sustain and minor force and more crit damage. This is really helpful because you do need the extra sustain in stamina and like melee, so this is great. I then have Falconer Swiftness as a movement skill. It gets you in and out of trouble. It's very, very nice. I would note that because it's not a teleport, it means you have to be very careful with your stample, which again is why we use that momentum. We then have Feral Guardian, which in my opinion, this thing is fantastic. I absolutely love this one. So instead of it following you around forever, you basically summon like Celine. So if you've played the game before, Celine pops a bear out of the ground, it hits you, it does lots of damage. You can basically do that with this skill. What that means is you can delay this because it has about a second delay, which isn't shown on the tooltip, which means you can do combos such as Scorch into bear and then do a dizzying swing, reverse slash. What ends up happening is all of this lands pretty much at the same time, and the low health with the reverse slash hitting at the end, getting that bonus damage. This hits incredibly hard and is a very, very good way to kill people. So this is a fantastic skill. I would definitely run this. For the Bat Bar, we have regeneration for a heal over time. You'll find that a lot of this campaign you need more healing because you don't have much sustain and stuff, so it does really help. We then have Arctic Wind as our burst heal, with Living Vines and another heal over time. You could, if you want, drop the Restoration Heal and run the Assault Vigor, but I found it was really hard to sustain, so this is why I went with the Restoration Staff. We then have Betting Edge for more damage, it's just free, so you run this. And we had Lotus Flower for more healing, this is a more crit chance. The crit chance gave us bigger heals when they did happen more often, and it gave us more damage, so this is why this is here. It's also very cheap. We have Secluded Grove, which gives you just a big burst heal for you and allies. It's like an all no button. It is a heal over time, but it's still worth running. This is the standard version, and I find this is really, really fun, very effective. If you were to play it as a Magicka version, you have a few tweaks to do, but I found that you want to build around the dot version, so Vengeance Storm is fantastic. I would then recommend, in my opinion, going to the Destruction Staff and grabbing Destructive Touch. Having played a lot of the builds, I found the dots are actually really, really worth using, and you want to pair this with an Inferno Staff. The reason you do this is that you've got this nasty dot here with this nasty dot here. These last ages. If you put on your Betty, you now have even nastier dots. So these just do really good damage. You can then line up your Scorch, and then you can put on either Cliff Razor, which hits very hard for a magical skill, harder than normal, or you can go down to the Destruction Full Shock. You'll notice that these are very similar in damage, that's 10,300 and that's 10,300. The difference is that dive can't be blocked, whereas False Pulse animates quicker, so you can land this faster. I personally prefer full shock because I can animation cancel this into a heavy attack. They cost exactly the same, but dive is more thematic. The rest of the skills play exactly the same, but this is how you make it into a ranged mag version, which I found was much more effective than doing like a melee mag version because it just doesn't work. So those are the options. The Magdon, it's a very cool class, it's pretty fun. Healing wise, it's pretty, it's there where it's there. But I hope you enjoy that. Now, the Sorcerer in the Vengeance campaign is ridiculously good. It's like one of the best builds in my opinion, and if you're not sure what to pick, this or Nightblade or Arcanist are fantastic. The Sorcerer has an absolute ton of damage, as you'll see in the gameplay, with really good burst combos that just sync really nicely, which means you can hit people very hard and get kills a lot easier than some of the other classes. So with that in mind, it's just very, very fun to play, very satisfying and very rewarding. I would add though that you have to be careful because you don't have the same stun power that you'd normally, so you just need to be a bit mindful with how streak works. For the gameplay itself, you will see that we do hit very hard and we are also sustaining very well, but just be mindful of that stun pool. For the build itself and the skills, I would recommend using Crystal Shard. Crystal Shard is your spammable, it hits very hard and it's a channel, but it's very hard. Most people don't run interrupts in this mode, so just run this, it's very, very good. I have Flame Touch for that sustained damage. This is really good. So dots in this mode are really worth using. They hit hard, they are sticky, so they stick to people, and what's nice is that you can stack a few of them, then do that follow up with this Crystal Shard to get that bonus damage, because all of this ticks at the same time as this lands. We then have Conjured Ward, which is basically your burst heal. So you use this as like a bonus health, or if you're low and you're going to die, just spam this. We do have Surge, which is a heal. It hits very hard, it does have a 6-second cooldown, so there's mainly here for that minor berserk, giving us more damage. But what's really nice with this is that it's like an all no button, so you do the shield, cast this when it's ready. We have Bolt Escape, which is the streak. It lets you teleport forward and it stuns people, but when you land. In my opinion, I really hope they do this on the live server. It makes streak much less oppressive, but I think this is really nice. If you get good with it, it's very, very good. If you're not that good with doing this, you'll find it hard to use. We then have Overload, which is fantastic. This basically lets you shoot lightning balls at people. And what's nice is that you can essentially land like Crystal Shard and then push the Overload at once, which will then shoot both together and they hit very, very hard. For the back bar, we have Vigor. We needed that heal over time. It's very useful for PvP. We have Daedric Curse, which is again another burst skill. So you can sync your burst to be Daedric Curse, 15,000. With the dot from the Flame Touch, with the Overload and the Crystal Shard all landing within like the 1 second if you time it properly, and it absolutely melts people. I then use Regeneration, and I've gone back and forth on what to use here. I like the healing, it's quite good for group play, good to get AP, so I'll probably keep this personally, but you can change this if you want. I then have Unstable Familiar, and this again is a really nice damage over time. It doesn't always land, so just be mindful that you have to use it in like more static fights. If they're teleporting around and rolling loads, this is going to miss. So you want to do it like when they've been stunned and then use this with then the Flame Touch. And they've got 2 really nasty dots on them, which allows all that pressure to stack up whilst you do damage with your actual skills. We have Dark Exchange to swap some of our resources around, so this is nice, giving us stam for Magicka. But just be careful with this because you can run out of stam if you're not too careful. For the ultimate, I used the Tormatro. This basically hits really hard. It's like a AoE burst skill. It also stuns people. So you'd use it as that, it's like an AoE burst. So that's all in all what you can do on a Sorcerer. For the other skills, I wouldn't recommend using many of these. Like you could use False Shock instead of the Shard, but it's slightly less damage. It also doesn't land as nicely with the Overload, but you can't be interrupted, so that is an option too. And then for all these other ones, these are nice if you can get them in there, but you have to be careful with these. All in all, this is what I'd use, and I think this is probably one of the better specs. Any questions though, let me know down below. So that's it guys, that's the breakdown of all the classes, different build specs you can run for each one with some gameplay. It's taken a lot of effort to make this, especially in such a short period of time because it's only a week test. But I really hope you find this useful, and if you are new to PvP and stuff and you want to stay up to date with that kind of stuff, then do consider subscribing to the channel because that's what this is all about. As always, likes and comments are greatly appreciated too. If you want to support the channel to continue to grow and get access to videos early, then do consider becoming a member on YouTube or Patreon right now. And if you want to get exclusive builds and stuff, that's also available there too. But until the next video stream, I'm saying a massive thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next one. Take care, and bye.